I will be whole. I wanna be, I gotta be made whole. I gotta be, it's time to be made whole. I'm gonna be, just wait and see. I will be whole.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tracy Perryman. Balance in women's lives is a big part of being whole. Our guest has climbed high with degrees in science and management. She started a family and embraced a job where her role is to advance continuous improvement in the workplace. Can we constantly improve our careers and still serve ourselves, our family, and others? Let's ask Jeanna Temple. Jeanna, we are so glad to have you here with us today.
Glad to be here, Tracy.
So Jeanna, I know a little bit about your career and what you do, but for our audience, can you share with us your job title and who you work for?
I work for Domino's Pizza Incorporated. I am a continuous improvement specialist for the North region. As a continuous improvement specialist, I do just that. Our goal is to improve our processes, as well as look for cost-saving initiatives.
What is at the core of your job?
Oh, my goodness. The core, I would say what's at the core of my job are people. People have always been at the core of my job. Coming from a background of manufacturing, in an engineering setting, obviously engineering is my background, but people are what makes the world go round. And I say that as it relates to what we build, and then what you do every day, what you see every day. Someone likely has touched it. The main thing is you want to make sure everything is safe. And so being in a field that's from an engineering perspective, people come first. We want them safe. We want them motivated. And we want to make sure we have a good rapport with them. People are coming from different backgrounds. People have had good days, bad days, but we want them to be their best when we're coming into a situation that we're having to build or make a product, right? So people are always the core.
Yes. Tell me this. What don't people understand about your work?
I think people don't know what really goes into what we do every day, right? I would say most times we go to a grocery store, you go to purchase something off the shelf, and you don't really think about what it took to get those products there, right? If it's a car, same thing. You know, you get in a car, you're looking at all the dashboard, you know, what the radio looks like, what the screens look like. But the reality becomes, again, you don't know what it took to make the vehicle, to showcase all those different bells and whistles that everyone loves. People, we made that. And so when it comes to my job, and it gets stressful because we have to make sure all our products are, like I said, safe for our consumers to use. And in my case now, working for Domino's Pizza Incorporated, right now it's making food safe to eat. And then it's something that you enjoy. But there is a lot of work that goes in from the manufacturing, for example, of the dough, to ensuring that it's quality. Then you have all your different ingredients that have to be packaged. They have to be picked accurately based on what our franchisees, what our stores need. They have to get loaded onto a truck. And then they have to make it on time so that as a consumer, you can get exactly what you're wanting, which is a great tasting pizza. And you want it ready and on time when you're there. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into what we take for granted in most days. So the stresses on my end is mainly just being able to basically, from a customer perspective, provide them what they want, and work with the team that will get them what they want.
I noticed when you talked about people, your face just brightened up. And so I have an idea of what might be most satisfying about your current position, but I'd like you to ponder on that and give me your thoughts. What satisfies you the most?
I would say in my current position as a continuous improvement specialist, what satisfies me most is the ability to travel. I travel. I have 9 centers, so I'm quite busy in the sense of being able to travel to each center in the North region, which is basically Midwest and East Coast. And so I get to meet people in different areas of the United States, right? And in doing so, what they're up against is very different. Of course, you go to the East Coast, you're looking at a very tight knit area, tight knit community, right? It's a lot of people in a small space. So again, the issues that they contend with on a daily basis, at least being able to get product where it needs to go, is a lot different from maybe in the Midwest where you're more in a rural area. Spaces everywhere, and maybe in that area you're contending more with the people at the actual job, and again their ability and their accuracy to get the orders right. It might not be so much in the transportation side, but like I said, in East Coast it's both. So but with that being said, I get to meet people from vast backgrounds, and they get to obviously, they get to know me, they get to know who I am, and I like getting to know who they are. We want to ensure that we establish good rapport with people. I want people to be comfortable, and I want people to tell me what it is that what their needs are. By knowing what their needs are, it allows me in my profession to hopefully provide them, again, what's safe, what's efficient. And obviously the goal is to hit whatever our corporate goals are that leadership gives us. But in doing so, I want to make sure that the people are happy with what they do on an everyday basis. You want to be motivated, and my job is to motivate as well.
Your discussion of people, from the employees to the customers to safety to conscientiousness and timeliness, I see this overarching theme of care and caregiving, even in your professional capacity. And so I think about it in your personal life as well. You're a great wife. I've observed that, a great mother, and a great caregiver to your father. Now, with all of the detail that you just explained related to your job, how do you juggle your work and your family?
Oh, with a lot of grace and a lot of mercy. I think the hardest part is, I'm gone at least a week or two out of every month. Mm-hmm. And then in doing that type of traveling, with my husband, his job also, he travels. He's in the banking industry and he travels a lot. And then we have one son. And so again, he has his obligations as well, and we have to get him to where he needs to go. Mm-hmm. And then yes, my dad is a senior citizen, and he's a proud senior citizen. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, again, he still now needs more help than he's needed in the past, right? But I would say for myself, is the juggling is mainly, it's just difficult sometimes to really try to prioritize what comes first. But for myself, my husband is a good support for me. And I have close friends that are also good supports for me. And that in itself is probably what allows me to really be able to juggle being a wife and a mother, and being a caregiver for my dad. I hate to say it, my phone is probably my trusty schedule keeper, because I make sure that I have to make sure everything's written down. I have to follow it oftentimes, to a T, just to make sure that I am able to keep up and prioritize. It's not easy, but I find a way. And then I sometimes have to lean on others to help me, in order to keep on task. And I'm thankful to have that support network that I do.
Well, support systems, and good ones, don't come by accident, usually. There's some intentionality in how we select the people that we allow into our space, how we select those who support us, and how we mutually support them. So can you share with us how you select the individuals of your support system? Like, what is a requirement to be a part of Jeanna's support system?
Oh, wow. I think, for myself, we're always attracted to people in some cases that are like-minded, right?
Mhm.
We also are attracted to people who have a similar upbringing because obviously it helps you relate, But at the same time, of the friends that I have chosen, I think one of the biggest factors is always trust, and then this aspect of honesty, being able to tell me when when you see a fault, something I should have done differently. And it's okay to tell me that. I don't want anyone who's, going to be a yes person to everything I say or do. That is what helps me grow. And then the other part is encouragement. I think individuals that genuinely encourage you on a daily basis are the type of people that you want in your circle, because we do deal with a lot of, juggling on a daily basis between jobs and family, right? So you need that bit of encouragement. My mom passed away in 2017. And for a lot of us, not everyone, but for a lot of us, our moms are our biggest supporters. They're our biggest cheerleaders. They're our confidants, especially as we get older. And so losing her for me was very difficult because she was my encourager, right? But in my circle now, those individuals who sometimes just send me a note to say, hey, you're gonna have a great day today, right? Or if there's a task, and I'm talking with them, and then they'll say, oh, Jeanna, you got this, And sometimes it's a just because. Sometimes I've told them what's going to happen, but those encouraging words mean so much because for me, it was a factor that I felt was missing. And I think a lot of us need that extra push to know that, things will work out and they're going to work out for the good. And if they don't, you know how to pick yourself up and you start again. And I think that's the biggest key.
Wow. And I think part of what has been helpful is your sense of self and knowing who you are and being true to your values and speaking to your discussion of having like-minded people around. Sometimes as women, when we don't know who we are, or when we know who we are, but we're not secure in conveying who we are, then in turn, we attract people who are not the best for our mental wellness or for us to succeed in our careers and lives. So you talked about your friends being encouraging, but also having the hard conversations. Is there anything you would like to say about how your friends or your support circle have helped you as you have recovered, right, from losing your mom 6 years ago?
Yeah, I think the biggest part is from my support system. I'm given the advice of, Jeanna, everything doesn't always have to be perfect. It's okay if this doesn't, match. It's okay if, you miss that call or you miss that meeting. And I think I've had great advice given to me within my support system, especially when they can tell either I'm stressing or it's taking a lot of energy out of me. I think the biggest part about, the stresses in life is they tell me you don't have to do it alone. And there are services, that are out here to help you. Oftentimes, I think as women, we try to do it all. And I don't know if it's just an aspect of the strength or it's just the aspect of I don't want anyone to look at me as if to say I'm needy or I can't do something, on my own. Obviously, myself being in an industry that's male dominated, engineering is very male dominated. As a woman, in my case, as a woman and an African American woman, I represent two minority groups. And so you really push hard to make sure that your thoughts are conveyed, that you get the job done, is done to the best, and you don't want to ask for help. So in my everyday life, when it's away from the job, you carry on those same characteristics. But the reality is, they have cleaning services for a reason, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you can't get into the house and clean, right? So you need to, hey, I might have to call you and pay the service, but it took a lot of load off of me. So we have to think about ourselves and do the things that I guess are hard, which is to let go and let somebody else, take charge.
Wow. So I know for those of us who are high achieving, especially like you, getting to the place where you're able to give yourself grace, that was a journey, I'm sure. And that's a coping strategy that I think a lot of women need to utilize. Do you have any other coping strategies that have been helpful to you to share with our audience?
Sure. You have to take time for yourself. A lot of times, going to the movies, we're quick to go with our friends and our family. Sometimes it's okay to go to the movies, on an afternoon. If you take, a couple hours of your personal time, just go watch a movie that you would enjoy, right? Because, for women, we might like the romantic side of movies and stories. We might not want all the action, right? So take that time for yourself. And then the other aspect is, you need to pamper yourself. So it's okay to, get your nails done, get your hair done. You still want to make sure that you put you first. And I know it's the hardest thing to do, but you have to make time for yourself. And then I would say the other part is resting well. That's something that we don't do. I've had to learn how to put my phone down, turn the TV off, and actually go to sleep. But I will say this, by doing all the things that help alleviate my stresses, it's great to be able to go to sleep at night and not have those stresses still going around in my mind. So finding time for yourself, even when you're pushing through, because you can't be a caregiver, you can't be the best wife or mother if you're not taking care of yourself. And it's going to show up in your job, and it's going to show up in your energy. So we have to take that time.
Jeanna, thank you so much for balancing ambition with being a whole person and recognizing the value of relationships. I'm sure so many women are going to draw so much from what you've shared. Thank you again for coming.
I'm glad I was invited. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Today, we talked about balance, and our guest reminded us of something we sometimes forget. When we acquire a support system, a network of people to help us cope, we need a balance of people within that group. Sure, we need people to encourage us, but we also need those who will always be honest. And to attract people who sustain us, we need to understand who we are and stick to it. We want support from those who share our values. The next episode of Elevating Wholeness looks to millennial women, a group that is often stereotyped with negative connotations related to coping. We'll talk to two women of that generation who have turned challenges into achievement. Join me for a conversation with Wazeda Wilson and Terina Jaynes on Elevating Wholeness. This podcast series was funded by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Lucas County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. Special thanks to Owens Community College for their support of this episode.